so I'm just going to do a little presentation on Claude Code, kind of the development of our agentic coding tools, mostly terminal-based, but kind of just speak to some more generalities there too. Start off, does anybody use Claude Code like on a day-to-day, or maybe any other like agentic terminal-based, like Codex or what is it, Gemini CLI? That's another one. I've never tried that one, to be honest. But yeah, so hopefully this will be relevant to most people here, and you don't necessarily have to be a programmer nowadays to get advantage, take advantage of a lot of these tools. So that's pretty cool. Let's go. Where are we? Nice. So I'm just going to do a brief history lesson. I'll speed through it. It won't be too boring if you're really into it. You probably know most of this stuff already, but so kind of at the beginning, the dark ages, when ChatGPT first came out, like late 2022, the whole big craze was prompt engineering, right? So everyone wanted to like craft the perfect prompt that would instantly get their result right away. It's funny looking back at it now. I mean, we could laugh at it and be like, well, it's not really how you do it. It's kind of more of like this iterative approach, right? But back then, I don't think that was as obvious. But we discovered like a lot of patterns to like kind of like coax these responses out of LLMs that took a lot of time to generate, and then we found that they weren't really like easily like generalized to other language models because they had their own kind of quirks and intricacies to them. And kind of like newer models came along that tried to solve these issues, but it still was like relatively inefficient, especially compared to the tooling that we have now, particularly when it comes to code generation. Seems to be one of the things that it's actually quite good at. So yeah, this stuff, this is old news. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So kind of the new space we're in now is the context engineering. So we have this MCP and kind of all of these tools that we can provide to the model to get more accurate and useful responses, especially with a lot of the tooling that we have now. It's kind of like we're building a scaffolding around the foundational model. So like Claude Code is a good example. You have, you can even select different models, right? So I don't think you can choose Haiku directly, but you can do Sonnet and Opus, and depending on your limits, you might get cut off from Opus, but you gotta shell out $200 a month to use that, right? And then they degrade it too, so who knows? But yeah, so one way that tools like Claude Code kind of address kind of the main issue with LLMs, right, is that they're kind of ephemeral, like transient. You don't have a memory to these LLMs. They're stateless, almost like if you're a developer, like a REST API, right? It's supposed to be that you don't keep any session information in the model itself. All you really have is the context window, right? And then once the context window either gets compacted, so kind of like summarized, or it gets cleared out, you don't have any relevant information kind of from, or as rich of relevant information in the case of you compacted it as you had previously. So we, as Colin had mentioned kind of in his presentation, one of the ways that these coding tools are addressing this issue is creating instructions files like your Claude.md and kind of things like that. So you have information in a LLM-friendly format, and it allows you to save state in between request and request, and even when you compact or clear out your context window. So that's, and then I would argue, one of the main draws of these terminal-based agentic coding tools, rather than maybe like a Cursor or a Copilot, is I feel, and I think it's a general consensus, that you have much greater control over the context that you provide to your foundational model. So you can compact and clear whenever you want. You even have like nifty little commands like /context to actually see kind of what's loaded into the context. So you really, I think, have like much greater observability into it. But the main issue with this context engineering, the thing that you're fighting against, is finding the happy path. between providing enough context to your LLM to get the task done while not overloading the context and kind of poisoning it or confusing the LLM with too many potential options. So that's kind of where we get this idea of context engineering from. And kind of moving on, one of the ways that Claude Code in particular, and it seems like it's also being generalized in deep agents, to address this context issue is the idea of like these custom sub-agents. And then Claude Code has had this ability, pretty much since it came out with the task command, where you could see that it would run separate tasks, maybe a bash command, or it would reach out to the internet with the web web request tool. But you could also ask it specifically to create a bunch of different like role-based sub-agents is what they call them. And you could either run them in parallel or serially, and they would all kind of go off and do their own thing. But the main advantage of them is that they had their own context windows. They would receive a prompt from the orchestrating agent and then go and do its task, summarize its findings, and then return all of this information back to the orchestrating agent that could then load these summaries into its own context and make a generalized like assessment, or in Claude Code a lot of the times I would use it for researching, and then it would add it to the plan. So you could have a plan with maybe a bit more information out there kind of observed from many different roles or perspectives. And now, I'd say it's been 2 or 3 months ago, Claude Code released a new feature, Anthropic released a new feature in Claude Code rather, called custom agents, where you have predefined sub-agents that have their own prompts, system prompts. They don't inherit from the Claude.md, so they kind of have their own, are influenced by what the orchestrating agent is. So it kind of has that isolation, right? It's able to kind of complete its task without having to rely on an agent the orchestrating agent to make the choices for you. Hopefully we can sort that noise out. Anyway, so yeah, this tool is pretty great. Now they do require setup using the /agents command, and you can then define the system prompt or kind of have Claude do it itself, a Sonnet or Opus. And they're much more customizable also. You can choose the tools that they have access to, including MCP servers. So that's another really good advantage of it. And since they're defined in markdown files, they are transportable. You can move them between projects. So you have like domain-specific work, and if you, as long as you have a good description of these tools, the orchestrating agent can actually call them. Yeah? Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Definitely. So kind of moving on. Here's kind of an example of what you can use. Loud enough for you, or still can't hear me? Yeah. Can't speak too loud, then you echo, all right? Okay, thank you. So here's an example of a custom agent that is a code reviewer. So you kind of have an example of the markdown file that would define the way that this agent works, and you can choose the model and the tools that go along with it. This one in particular, kind of you even define like when it runs. So general guidelines is you kind of want to keep like one job per agent. You want to restrict the tools, kind of start like read-only, and then introduce editing tools as kind of that functionality is necessary. And that also helps you keeping the context small and focused and returning actual like useful information. And then, of course, using clear and specific descriptions so that the main Claude Code knows when to invoke these agents. So yeah, I've got a couple of examples, kind of code review, QA, debugging. These are all like kind of software development lifecycle specific. Yeah, question?
Yeah, so Claude Code has a bunch of sub-agents that it uses already.
It can, if you prompt it in such a way, it will make them kind of on the fly. Is it 15 minutes or 10?
You're at 10 right now.
Okay, yeah. Go on.
Are there also people who have created ones that, like is there a library or repository somewhere where you can access?
Yeah, there's definitely repositories out there. I've seen quite a few. I don't have any offhand, but you can definitely look them up and find them. There are some downsides to that I'll kind of get to in the later on slides. Yeah, let's move on here. So here's kind of an example of kind of some of the cool stuff you can do with sub-agents. So you can actually run them in parallel and define an execution plan where you have your custom agents move from phase to phase to phase and then run your sub-agents all at the same time, assuming that the tasks that they do can be parallelized. They don't rely on they don't rely on resources that they kind of need to share between them. So I was working on making a new personal site that had a blog in Astro. So I actually had Opus create these sub-agents for me, particularly for this project. And then I took a few GIFs here, some videos of kind of that parallel action working. So this is kind of the stuff that kind of makes you feel really powerful as you have all of these little tiny processes running at the same time to accomplish some pretty cool tasks for you. So just a little example of some of the cool things that you can do. And this top picture here is actually the Claude.md that kind of outlines how you would use these tools. So you can either have that or create like a plan in plan mode if you want to kind of invoke the agents in a serial way where it passes the information from one to another to another. So yeah, and then this is just kind of the closeout here. I've kind of spoken about a lot of the upsides and the advantages of using these, but there are some downsides. So all of these agents cost context space. They are tokens, as you can see there if you list them out, and you hit /context and you can see what is occupying that. And the custom agents, along with your MCP tools, all contribute to you could say context pollution, but maybe context enrichment, however you want to view it. So keep that in mind. You don't really want to have like a very large amount of large sub-agents because they will cost a lot of tokens and they will they'll eat up your context window. And then you're compacting or you're clearing out more and more often, and generally that kind of reduces the quality of the output that you get. I think that's it for me. So does anyone have any questions? I got 2 minutes for questions.
Yeah, how well do sub-agents work for multimodality? If you want a sub-agent that's very focused on, say, images or media and really keeping track of stuff in the image?
Yeah, I've tried out kind of something similar to that. So say you have like maybe an accessibility or kind of like a reviewing sub-agent, and say it uses like a Playwright MCP to load up like a headless Chrome and then like take a picture of a website. And then it can kind of analyze that and provide you, maybe to see like the contrast, right? Is there enough difference between these two colors on the page that it's accessible, basically. I've got mixed results, kind of with most things. I think it's like a work in progress. Although Claude Code in general is actually pretty good at images, but it kind of varies. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely something that can be improved. Yes, sir.
How do you think about one job, one agent, defining what the skill of that job is? There's not that many small subtasks.
Yeah, so that's kind of the name of the game, right? That's, I think, the main thing that you're thinking of when you're creating an agent. I try to think of like kind of an atomic set of maybe transactions like in a database or something. Like if all of these maybe even smaller tasks kind of go together, that could work. So say you're creating components in a React site. Maybe you could have an agent that does that, and then maybe you have another one that does like unit testing or something like that. So, but I could chat more about this, afterwards if you'd like. But I think my time is up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sal.
Yeah.
I am
Everybody?
absolutely stealing this pattern from my Astro blog. Which anyone using Astro? I think Collier. Collier is the one who started this.
Fun one,
right?
Yeah.
Jeff. Yep,
That's where I heard it from.
It's